In this video, we're going to show you how to remove and replace the right front caliper. Let's remove our wheel, 21mm socket, and we do have a wheel lock key, and there it is right there. Last one. Disconnect the brake line. That's a 14mm banjo bolt, so socket or a wrench. And make sure you have a catch bucket and you can catch the brake fluid that comes out. Take that bolt right out of there. And I'm going to use a old valve stem. If you got a rubber boot or something you can put in there. I don't recommend crimping the line because it's made out of all different types of material, and crimping it can actually damage it for the future. So we'll just put that right in there like that. It's going to get minimal, but you're never going to lose the whole master cylinder, so we can actually pick that up, get it right out of the way. Now we're going to dismount this caliper. We're going to reuse the pads because they're fairly new, so I'm going to dismount the caliper off of the bracket so I can get the pads out. This looks like a 14mm. You can just socket or a wrench. Break those free. I'm going to tip this up right into my catch basin so I can get the fluid out of it. All right, and the two bolts right here that holding the bracket to the knuckle, 17mm socket. Break them free. Set it aside, you're going to reuse that. All right, now what I'm going to do is prep my new caliper and get prepared to install it on the car. I always take new calipers apart. For one, you have to put the hardware on, but two, I'll always add extra caliper grease and check those sliders out. Make sure they've got enough lubricant. 14mm socket. Take these caliper pin nuts bolts off. Okay, we can set that aside. Now we have the bag of hardware that came with the caliper, and we're going to install the tins. But first, let's take the first slider pin out. Took the pin out, and I actually added some lube to that after I took the pin out, and now I'm going to lube up this boot. So you want to try to get as much grease or silicone on the inside of the ribs. So I like to do that. Get that right in there, helps the future, keeps it lubricated, and I just spin it as I install it. Make sure it goes down and clicks. You're going to get air in there, so I just squeeze that air out. Clean it up and do the same to the other side. So now we're going to put the hardware on, the caliper bracket, and I put a light coat of caliper grease or my silicone paste that I like to use, just like that. We're going to do it to both sides. All right, next. Make sure you push them all the way down. Let them sit right in place. And then we'll do the same to this side. The silicone or the caliper grease, shall I say, it stops water from building up and rust forming, and then that will just push that tin up, which makes the brakes not work to their best performance. Okay, now we're going to transfer the old pads over. So I'm going to set that bracket up just like I want it to be on this. We have the inner pad and the outer pad. I can take these anti-rattle clips out. I have new ones right there. Let's check the rest of them out, see if they're good. That tin got stuck on there. That indicator still looks good. I can install the new one or the old one, it all depends. I'm going to stick with the old one. Okay, so we're just going to put that inner pad in. I'm going to put the side with that clip on first so that the side hopefully will slide in a little bit easier. There we go. Now we're going to install the outer pad. Just like that. Wonderful. Okay. Now we're going to install our new caliper bracket with the pads. Install the bracket. I'm going to take one of the mounting bolts, line it up, start it by hand. Grab the top one, get that started. And the torque on this is 77 foot-pounds. That's a 17 millimeter socket. We'll get that torque wrench ready. The hardware for the caliper came with new anti-rattle clips. I call them butterfly clips. Just put them in each spot like that. I'm going to get that back out of the way. And you might have to hold the pads in place, which is a good thing because that means that they're moving freely, which you want. You don't want them to stick. See how it pushes them back out? It's doing its job. So I'm going to take the caliper itself, slide it over. Get it to sit in place. Grab one of the new mounting bolts that came with the caliper. Get that top to start. And I'll put the bottom one on. That's a 14 millimeter. I'll take my ratchet wrench. Now I'll get my torque wrench, 14 millimeter socket, and the torque, factory torque on that is 25 foot-pounds. All right. Last thing is we're going to put that flex hose on. Make sure my bucket's right below it. I'm going to take the new banjo bolt and washers out. And now I'm going to take the flex hose itself, take my bell stem out, and I'm going to take the old factory washers out. I'm not going to reuse those because the new one came with a set. So one washer on the outside, like that, bring it through, and the other copper washer on the inside, just like that. I'm going to line it up, start it by hand, and that's going to go right into that seated point right there. Take our wrench, not that one, 12mm wrench or socket, and I'm going to snug it. Apparently that's not 12. There we go. Bring it up, feel that it stops, and then I'm going to go an extra quarter turn. You know, crushing those copper washers. That's the whole desire of that. Now I'm going to clean that area. I'm going to load my car. I'm going to check the master, top it off, pump the brakes up, and then I will open that bleeder screw and gravity bleed it. The master cylinder is usually always located in front of the driver's seat in the engine compartment, and always check the cover when you take that off. It should always tell you what kind of fluid to put in. This says .3. The line indicator is on the side here. I'm just going to overfill it maybe a little bit because, well, we know we're going to let some out, right? Because we're going to gravity bleed the brakes. Now I can pump the brakes up and then open the bleeder screw. So I topped my master cylinder off. I pumped the brakes, which fills this cylinder up, the two cylinder pistons, up with brake fluid, pushes the pistons out. Now I'm just going to open it so that gravity will do its job and get any air that is taken in out. 8mm. I'm going to open up that bleeder screw, make sure I have that catch basin below it. Takes sometimes 2 to 3 minutes. We'll look for a steady stream. So we're just going to close that right up. Like I said, it's 8mm wrench. Snug it right up. And we're going to clean that and put the boot right back on. Put the tire back on. Pretty much get it centered. These lug nuts have a shank on them. So always hand start. You can feel the center. Yep, I just got it. I'll take my 21mm wrench. Oh my God. I'll take my 21mm socket and I'm just going to snug it up a little bit. There you go. Stops it from wobbling around. And then the lock socket. Gotta snug them up. And we're gonna lower this and torque it to factory specs. Real torque for this is 76 foot-pounds, and we're gonna do it in a star pattern. double check. When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.